welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about Netflix's latest film, The Trial of the Chicago 7. Before we begin, let me know in the comments if you were looking forward to this or what your thoughts were if you've seen it already, and make sure to give this a thumbs up if you like these reviews. It helps me out immensely if you do that. Also, if you're new here and you like movies, whether it be blockbusters, hidden gems, or everything in between, please consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with reviews of new releases and some classics. But now, let's jump right into it. Taking place in the midst of the Vietnam War, the countercultural and anti-war protests are ongoing in the US. One that takes place during the 1968 Democratic National Convention escalates, and it results in 7 men being charged with conspiracy and inciting a riot. A trial ensues, and it turns into a media frenzy with the whole world watching in anticipation. This is based on the actual court case and is the second film directed by Aaron Sorkin, who also wrote the screenplay. This was actually in the works since 2006 though. Sorkin was always attached to write, but it was originally set to be a Steven Spielberg directed project. Then the writer's strike happened in 2007, Spielberg stepped down, and after being unable to find a replacement director, Sorkin himself stepped in. And it goes without saying, Sorkin is one of the most well-known, most respected writers in the business, so anticipation is already pretty high whenever his name is attached. But what really drew everyone's attention is the cast, and it is a phenomenal cast. You have Sasha Baron Cohen, Eddie Redmayne, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Jeremy Strong, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Mark Rylance, John Carroll Lynch, Kelvin Harrison Jr., Alex Sharp, Frank Langella, and Michael Keaton. I hope I got everyone. I can almost guarantee you this will at the very least be nominated for Best Ensemble Cast come award season. And if it wins, it's rightfully so. I'll start by saying this is by far the movie's best element. Everyone here is on their A game, and I enjoyed every single one of these performances. Everyone's so good, in fact, that audiences will definitely be divided as far as who the true standouts are. So let's go into a few. It's a toss-up between who the true lead is, since this is an ensemble film. I've heard some people say Eddie Redmayne and others say Sasha Baron Cohen, and it's kind of close. They both definitely get the most amount of screen time over everyone else. Eddie Redmayne is seen as kind of the informal leader of the group. Mark Rylance is their lawyer, and Redmayne's always the one who works closest with him whenever trials in recess. And he's great. His presence becomes much stronger as the film goes on, and he has some really solid moments when conversing with the rest of the group. But between the two though, Sasha Baron Cohen was easily my favorite. Probably because he took me a bit by surprise, because we associate him so heavily with Borat, Ali-G, Who is America, just all of his prank comedy, that we forget he's been in some serious films before and is actually a pretty effective dramatic actor. And we see that again here. There are some scenes where the spotlight's all on him and he takes the moment by storm. He's energetic, commanding, and very lively. He has some of the better lines in the film as well, so I appreciated his performance a lot. Though it's not to say he still can't be funny. While his scenes are mostly dramatic, he's also the comedic relief of the bunch, along with Jeremy Strong. They'll go back and forth with Frank Langella, who plays the judge, and they'll disrupt the proceedings various times throughout the movie. There's one scene in particular where they'll walk into the court donning robes to mock the judge, and I thought that was very funny, and it provided some levity without taking away from the seriousness of the trial. And I feel Frank Langella himself is going to be the one big performance that will get the most overlooked. I haven't heard too many people talk about him, because this guy is absolutely incredible as the judge. He essentially serves as the antagonist. He's cold, most times unfeeling, he'll hold everyone in contempt of court at the drop of a dime, he eggs on most of the defendants and the lawyers on both sides, and you just end up enjoying hating this guy. Langella is a very underrated actor, and I thought he crushed it here. And fun fact, this takes place at the height of the Nixon administration, and he played Nixon himself in Frost Nixon in 2008, which was another good historic drama. But the hands down best performance to me was Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. He is a powerhouse, and he's easily on his way to becoming one of the best names in the business if he keeps this up. If you're not familiar with the story, I won't spoil what his role is exactly, but it's unfortunately not that big, though I wish it was because he left such a lasting impression. Like the other performances, he has a very strong, commanding presence, and his scenes were some of the more emotional moments, including what was arguably the most brutal moment in the entire film. And because he was given so much to do in the little time we see him, he was really able to shine. And Sorkin's writing, that's another of the movie's strongest elements. His movies are always heavily dialogue based, and that's once again the case here. And it never feels slow. The conversations are very snappy and very fast paced. Characters will bounce off one another quickly without even missing a beat at times. You rarely feel that 2-hour and 10-minute runtime because of the fact that it's always on the move. Now, the movie will feel very entertaining and crowd pleasing, and unfortunately, that's both a strength and a weakness. There's no doubt it's going to be a huge awards contender. It's probably going to get nominated for many of the big categories, and I'm sure audiences will love it, and it'll probably make a lot of end of year year lists. And to be clear, I thought this was good. I don't want that to get lost with what I'm about to say. But I know the actual court case was very theatrical. A lot of the arguing and bickering that we see and some of the antics from the defendants that go on were real. So Sorkin was trying to capture that feel as best as possible. But some of the dialogue and some of these exchanges were too showy or too theatrical. It almost felt like a parody of Sorkin himself at times. Some of the tropes felt cranked up to 11, and I felt it ended up being too much. I think of A Few Good Men, another courtroom drama that he also wrote, and I think of the You Can't Handle the Truth moment. And I just felt like there were so many times here where Sorkin was trying to push for another big moment like that. There were a few times I was expecting a character to flat out say it. There are a lot of big impassioned speeches, or characters will always have this well-crafted comeback to everything, and there were times where the moment called for more nuance, and it instead went for the theatrics. There are a number of times where the movie leans too hard into that cheesy, crowd-pleasing feel, including one moment where a character is reading a bunch of names off a piece of paper, and it causes everyone else in the room to stand up and cheer. And it just felt like every feel-good, inspirational movie, especially from the 90s and 2000s. And I know it's not a documentary, it's trying to dramatize real-life events, and it'll make certain choices for dramatic effect. I just think Sorkin could have done this in a way that didn't go down a route that we've seen so many times before. Another thing worth noting is that this film will feel very reflective of current events. It's extremely relevant to today, and you'll be able to draw a number of parallels between then and now. Though obviously Sorkin wrote this years ago and the timing just happened to be on his side. But at any rate, a word that you'll hear used a lot to describe this is timely, and I'll agree with it there. Though one thing that people may find themselves divided on is because of the nature of the actual event. Some may not like the crowd-pleasing approach it takes to this, especially because the nature of what's covered here is actually much darker than the movie lets on. And that leads to another criticism. I'm not going to knock a movie for not getting history down to a T. No movie, even some of the best historical movies, capture events exactly as they played out, and I'm sure a lot of them would probably be pretty boring if they were to do that. But the big line from this movie that they'll repeat a lot is "the whole world is watching." And the case itself was huge, and it was during a very heated moment in history, to say the least. But because of the approach it chose to take, it never felt like it actually captured the climate of what was going on at the time. And to be clear, you're never going to get every little detail in a 2-hour movie. But that being said, for something like this, where there was so much going on, I felt maybe it should have been longer. Maybe it should not have been a 2-hour movie. It could have been a miniseries. Even though people repeatedly shout "the whole world is watching," you didn't see so much of what was going on in the country outside of the trial. We don't even spend much time with any of the characters beyond their roles in this case. There's a montage at the beginning of them getting ready for the protests, and then before they actually happen, it cuts and then jumps to the trial now underway. And it'll then flash back to certain key moments leading up to the protests or during them. And I felt like we should have seen more. We like these characters because of their antics in the courtroom, and we get a sense of what they stand for, but there was definitely a lot more of who they were that could have been explored. I would have loved to have seen the actual effects they had on the world, considering there was so much attention drawn to the trial. We see people protesting outside the courthouse, but not much beyond that. The movie left me asking for more, which is always a good thing, especially because it is well done. I would like to make that clear again, but it definitely felt constrained to a 2-hour runtime, and I think this is a story that would benefit from maybe being a miniseries, or at least a 2-part series. This is definitely good, and I do think you should give this a shot, because it's very well acted, it's entertaining, and Sorkin once again has a solid screenplay. This is definitely going to be a huge contender at award season, and I think many of you will enjoy this a lot. For me personally though, I wanted more. I appreciated the timely subject matter, but I would have liked to have learned a little more about these characters, and I wanted to see it capture more of the climate of the time. It just feels confined to that 2-hour runtime, and I think it would have benefited from being longer, or at least a miniseries. But either way, I enjoyed this movie, and I'd still recommend it. It's on Netflix now, so check it out if you're interested. The Trial of the Chicago 7 gets a 7.5 out of 10. So let me know, did you see The Trial of the Chicago 7, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Did you like the story? Did you like the performances? And what's your favorite historical drama? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll catch you next time.